Let me pop up and stream. Hey, everyone. How's everybody doing? Happy day 700 and whatever of quarantine. Tom Jenkins, good to see you guys. Thanks for joining our stream this evening. I know I always say I am super excited, but I'm like ultra excited tonight. I'm whatever excited. I'm ultra excited. I even brought props. I'm that excited. So I'm going to start with a prop as we go in here. I'm going to get you guys ready for what we got going on tonight. So hold on to your butts, but we have Mr. Master, Daniel Pesina. Yes, that's right. The original Johnny Cage is going to be here with us live here in just a minute. So we're going to bring him on. And yeah, he's the original guy. So get super pumped. Johnny Cage, also Sub-Zero, Noob Saibot, Scorpion, Reptile, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, you name it. This is the man. He's here. The original motion capture guy. Get pumped. So as always, as you can't tell, I am excited. Tom Jenkins. I run the Cleveland Gaming Classic. It's awesome to be here with you guys as always. As a reminder, real quick, our show is still on. We're still scheduled. We're still running. Everyone's going to be healthy. Everyone's going to be fine, I'm hoping. But in the meantime, please stay safe. Please stay healthy. Take care of your friends, your family. Do what you need to do. I'm in my basement for a day, like I said, 700 and something. But again, if you have questions about our show, stay up to date. You can always follow us here directly on Facebook or at gamecleveland.com. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on Master Daniel Pesina.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just Dave 900 over here in Chicago.
Oh, day 900. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you guys are on that Chicago time. That's that Central time.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy times, but it's not bad. It's not terrible, you know.
I feel like I should have left my shades on.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take them off in a little
so
bit.
we can both be Johnny Cage.
We go.
So how's it going?
Good. No complaints, you know. Here in the Windy City. Yeah, like we were talking, just complaining about not getting a haircut. That's about it. That's the only thing I really miss. Not getting a haircut.
You know, just let it go along. Like, just keep it that business in the front, party in the back look. You know, you'd be fine. You look good on the interviews. Look good on camera. Got that Johnny Cage look.
I'll do the Liu Kang with the longer hair.
That's right. You can grow it out and play multiple characters. But honestly, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
As a thing too, if you guys in the chat, if you do have questions, we're going to have that going along here as well. So if you have questions for Daniel Pesina, you know, feel free to put those in the chat. I'll make sure we leave some time to kind of work those in here and there. So if you have questions,
hey Troy.
Troy's an avid follower of Cleveland Gaming Classic from Wisconsin, so it's great. Thanks for joining the stream here. So we're gonna dive right into some questions. How do you feel about that? We ready?
Yeah, get over here.
So get over here. I love it. I was going to ask for a get over here. I need to get one or two of those at least on the mic.
Yeah. And then I have to plug. Whenever I say get over here, I always plug Rich DeVizio, the guy who did Kano and Baraka and Quan Chi, because he's the actually guy who made up that phrase, who coined that phrase, "Get over here."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, little trivia.
See, we are already learning things today. So what I was hoping we would do is we'd start off. I've got a little bit, you know, I just got to have an agenda, keep us on point. But I thought we'd dig into a little bit of history that I thought would be cool for people to hear about. But I also want to ask you some questions, dig a little bit, a layer deeper or two, and some fun kind of maybe tribal knowledge or stories that you have that you can share with us. So we'll just kind of start right off. So for people that don't know you, you know, might be like, okay, Johnny Cage, who's this guy, Daniel Pesina? I want to know a little bit more. Tell us about yourself.
Actually, I am born and raised in Chicago. Love the martial arts. Always kind of did it as a hobby. Later on, I just got tired of working, and I was like, I'm just going to focus on martial arts. But that was years after I did Mortal Kombat. I used to start at a young age, so I used to compete in tournaments, and that's how I kind of got starstruck. I was at a tournament called Battle of Atlanta, and they were recruiting people for a movie, but they wouldn't tell anybody what the movie was for. Non-disclosure until you showed up to try out for the movie. But then I got picked to do stunts for the foot soldiers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze.
That's a question might come up later. Hold on that one.
Yeah, which is and Troy Kano is awesome. But anyway, yeah, really one of my best friends. But anyway, so you know, at that time, doing a martial arts stunt was a little bit different than it is now. Like you actually, because the turtles had that suit on, they couldn't see. They had, imagine 2 holes like this, about this far away from
their,
you. So
their heads were like,
yeah, so you can only see what's directly in front of us. So if you ever watch the movie, you'll see us all, the Foot Clan is always going like this because they're going to throw a technique and our job is to run in front of it. So it wasn't like we did rehearsal choreography for like 5 weeks. But in the end, they can't see what they're doing. So if once they're going, they don't know what direction it is. They're going to start throwing their stuff and doing their stuff, and we have to like get in front of it. So I think at the time there might have been 16 foot soldiers, and we hired another 60 or 70 to fill in the back. But doing the stunts, there was not that many.
It seems like a lot. I have to ask about that. When you're talking about that original martial arts, all I was thinking about was Karate Kid. Like I am envisioning like this young Daniel Pesina trying out for Karate Kid. I've just got this vision of you doing the crane in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh man, he's a Karate Kid. He's trying out.
That's exactly how it was. 100%.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah, sweep the leg, Johnny.
So that's all I'm thinking of as you're talking about that. It's like, I just have this visual I can't get out of my head now. That's so awesome. So I want to, like I said, I want to dig on some of the history because I think it's a really cool story for some people don't know it. You know, maybe you can share with us how you got involved with this little thing called Mortal Kombat. You know, how did you get tapped for this?
Well, Eddie, my brother's younger than I am, but we had a friend. His name is Andy Kadelka, and later on he stayed up with John for 3 days to draw the first Mortal Kombat comic book, but that's a little trivia too.
John Tobias.
John Tobias. So this guy, Andy Kadelka, had this idea. He's like, you know what? I'm going to get artists together. I want to get like creative people together. And so he would, at his house, get DJs, break dancers, me, a martial artist, comic book artist, any type of, if you're into any art, he would have you at his house. And this was years before Mortal Kombat. One of those guys was John Tobias. And we would hang out once in a while and watch movies together, or him and my brother, because my brother really, he's an artist. Later on, he got to do artwork for Mortal Kombat.
Are you talking about Carlos?
Yeah. My brother Carlos. And so we had this friendship. And during the friendship, I recall one time that John was like, hey, I want to do a art project for my school, and I want to direct a kung fu movie. Mm-hmm. So John, myself, Rich, and Carlos drove out to a forest preserve basically to film a kung fu movie, which never happened because a car ran into us sideways, almost killed Kano, spun us around, totaled John's dad's car, which he got a new one, but destroyed the camera equipment, which belonged to the art school that John went to in Chicago. In short,
I've never heard this.
So
this is wild. This is cool.
So
not cool that happened, but this is a cool story.
Well, actually, it made us kind of tighter.
Yeah, because I mean, you're going through this thing. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, you're going through this thing where almost one of us die in John's car, and he's like, "Oh crap!" But we really bonded then.
Oh my gosh!
Years later, I get this call from. I get a call from John saying, "Hey, remember that movie that we never did?" And I started laughing. I'm like, "Oh my god!" And
I'm going to drive separate. That's the first thing you said.
And he's like, "I have an idea to do a live fighting game. I work for this company called Midway. I want to do this live fighting game, and I can you help me? Can you help me pitch this idea and help me create this fighting game?" So I was like, "Well, what do we got to do?" And he's like, "Well, you got to come to my work, Midway." We basically, he was like, I was training martial arts too, like all the time. I'd start early in the morning. So basically he wanted me to show up at like 9 o'clock at night to his work to film some videos because he didn't want other people to to know that he had this project in mind.
Hmm.
So we filmed. I choreographed some moves with Carlos and Rich and myself, and so we filmed like individual moves and these little fight scenes that we have. And he was going to take that with some drawings he had of characters, and then present that to Midway. So we get this done, and about a week later, he's like, "Hey, they are interested in the idea of having this game. Can you meet with a representative from Midway, and we could talk about more ideas that we want to put into this game?" Because when at the initial contact, he told me, "Hey, I can't pay you a lot to do this game, but
this is John."
But yeah, John Tobias was like, "I can't pay you a lot to do this game, but any ideas you have or want, I will put in the game for, and then you'll be able to use this. You will be able to use this to kind of pursue your acting and your choreography career." So I was like, "Okay, cool, we're going to do that." So we meet with this guy, and I didn't know at the time this guy was Ed Boon. So at the time, they told me the name, but it just flew over my head.
But for those of you that don't know, John Tobias and Ed Boon were the co-creators of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So we met with Ed, and we told him our ideas of what we wanted in the game. Like John originally wanted blood in the game. He wanted.
That's one of the questions I popped up. Yeah, did you know at that time?
Yeah, when we were pitching the game to Ed, John had the idea of having blood in the game and also having it like battle worn. So we would start out like looking fresh, and as the game progressed,
okay,
you get to rip. You got bruises, blood is flying all.
Like time killers kind of did that. Yeah,
actually,
I remember that.
Yes, you are correct. So we wanted to have that idea in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
and one of my ideas that I got to put in, or made John put in, is the idea of having I wanted to change the Japanese ninjas he had into the Lin Kuei. And John was like, "Well, what, a Lin Kuei? I never heard of Lin Kuei." And I was like, "Naturally, they're Chinese ninjas. You're not supposed to hear about ninjas."
Right.
Too, at the time, everything was like Japanese ninjas. Shokashugi was out there, who I love. I love all those ninja movies. But I wanted to have something unique in the game, that different game, or it wasn't in any other movie or media. So I was like, "John, if you want me to work on this game, you got to make the ninjas Lin Kuei." And then they look different than Japanese ninjas. They have a different look, and there's a different mystery around it. And I think it'll add to the game. So John was like, "Okay." He goes, "Okay, I'll change the ninjas for you and put in Lin Kuei." So we gave him other ideas.
That's insane. That's cool.
So we gave him other ideas, and then John and Ed left, and about a week or two later, John gives me a call, and he's like, "Hey, our game is canceled." They decided to go with a mainstream idea of having Jean-Claude Van Damme in a game instead of having our fantasy fighting game. It's going to be a beat 'em up game where you walk around as Jean-Claude Van Damme and just beat, like, basically like Karate Fighter.
Yeah.
Where
Karate Champ, people, like Karate Champ.
Karate Champ.
Yep.
Where you come out and you get beat up by a Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I was kind of like, I was just like, "Oh my God, please don't put the Lin Kuei in Jean-Claude Van Damme."
Well, he got his just desserts for being in the Street Fighter movie and video game later. So
so
bit him in the ass in the long run.
So anyway, they tried to pursue that, and eventually, a while later, John called me up and says, "Hey, Jean-Claude Van Damme wants too much money to do this game, so we're going to go with our original idea of doing the fantasy fighting game." He goes, "Are you still available to help me?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do this thing." So
I did not know that. So Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to be in this other game originally, and they turned that down?
So Jean-Claude Van Damme, they had the idea to give Jean-Claude Van Damme, there was two ideas.
Yeah.
One was what will be known as Mortal Kombat, and the other idea was to have a mainstream fighting game.
Was that Brawler, right? Yeah, like you're talking about.
Yeah, so that one got turned down because Jean-Claude Van Damme actually wanted money for the game, to do the game, as opposed to just a percentage or in a small fee. He wanted a big he wanted a big money up front and royalties, and it just didn't work out. So they went back to the original idea of doing Mortal Kombat, what we know as Mortal Kombat.
That's so wild. That's a cool story.
So I think that too. I think just because of in reality that people who didn't work for Midway came up with some of the ideas for the game. They pitched the other version a lot more, so you hear a lot more about Jean-Claude Van Damme was going to, the Mortal Kombat, Johnny Cage is designed after Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is not actually really, in reality, that's not really true because I wouldn't have done the game.
Correct.
There would
right.
be no
yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Right.
That idea came later, and John bribed me with some pizza. He was like, "Hey, if you do some Jean-Claude Van Damme moves, to satire his characters,
Right.
I'll buy you pizza." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do a few moves."
Was it a good pizza? Did it ever happen? Did you get that pizza?
Chicago, Chicago pizza was really good. Right?
Okay, it was worth it.
I got fed good.
Now,
they would always bribe me with food.
Kevin Molnar on the stream saying Street Fighter the movie is a gem. I have to disagree with you there, Kevin. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Daniel, if you remember Street Fighter the movie or not.
I remember Street Fighter the movie, and I remember playing Street Fighter the game. So I am a fan. Even though I didn't think Street Fighter the movie was great, I still enjoyed it. I'm like a geek, so I enjoy almost everything. Like recently I was on an interview, and I had basically a disagreement with a guy who doesn't like the new Star Wars movies. And I'm like, it's still Star Wars. Some are better than others.
I got my Star Wars pinball machine behind me. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, but in the end, it's still Star Wars. You got to love it. If you're a fan of Star Wars, even the bad ones you like.
Yeah.
You don't have to think they're the greatest, but still, I pay money to go see Star Wars. I will do that. I support that. So again, as far as Street Fighter, it's still Street Fighter. It's still awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? But I always remember the Street Fighter. There was this, I don't remember, maybe someone in the chat knows, but there was a Street Fighter, the movie video game, and it used motion capture too. And that one, regardless
really
of, it was really bad. It was really, really bad.
As we find out now in interviews that Jean-Claude Van Damme was on cocaine the whole time that he was doing that video game, and he couldn't really do anything because he was always high. But
things I did not know. Wow, that's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I want to go back to the history of the roots a little bit. So how did you know John? How did you know John Tobias then? So I know you touched on that really briefly, but if we could just stick on that, like how were you involved with these guys at Midway? Because these guys are legends, right? So
like I said, John Tobias, before he went to Midway, used to hang out with my brother, and we would go to shows together.
Yeah,
because I was the only one with a car. So we would go see like kung fu movies or that. We played Dungeons and Dragons together more than a couple times.
I give you credit for willing to admit that in an interview. It takes a lot for a guy to do. But not on this stream. I give you credit. I'm all on board with that.
Yeah.
D&D for life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I had this he's a friend. So basically he's a friend who
childhood friend you guys grew up with, right?
Yeah. Who later on was like, hey, help me pitch this game and help me develop this game. So that's how my lead in is. I didn't have to try out for anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I had to do was work for cheap. That's basically
right. That's how all those
and no martial arts. Yeah.
Yeah.
No martial arts. Yeah.
So besides eventually we're going to do this thing, Mortal Kombat, then they say, hey, Daniel, how do you feel about being XYZ characters? Like, can you walk us through those next steps too?
So John was like, okay, we need to create a pathway to the game. And I was like, okay, what's that mean? And he's like, I don't know. Show up, we'll get in front of a camera, and we'll have you do some martial art moves, and we'll see what'll work. So I for the first probably 5 or 6 days, 8-hour days, I didn't actually wear a costume. I just showed up in workout pants and did martial art moves in front of a video camera. And John and I would look at it to get an idea of what action was happening.
Sure.
We discovered things. One thing is we shot Mortal Kombat 1 with John Tobias's dad's camera. It was a high-8 camera. It wasn't a professional grade camera, so it wasn't. It was probably the most expensive you can buy as a consumer, but not nearly as good quality as you can get in a production, in a professional.
Or you can get on your phone maybe now, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was relatively that with that in mind, like different things. Like when I used the finger strike, we couldn't tell if that was that or that was that.
Is that
because just the resolution wouldn't pick up like the fingers for some reason because of the distance.
Yeah.
And two, when we shot the first day and we took a look at the footage the second day, we were like, oh, we can't use any of this because when I would do martial art moves, I would move. If I didn't move it back in the exact place, I was either bigger or smaller. And
yeah.
so
Oh, that's right. I mean, think about that. You have to keep the perspective the same, too.
right. So
I've
John
seen,
was
I'm
like,
going to put up one of those videos here. Hang on. I'll put one of those on
yeah,
there. Because that's what you guys had like lines drawn on the floor. This might have
yeah,
been
actually,
later. Here, I've
yeah,
got this
no,
one. I'll pop up there.
actually, the lines on the floor is what I developed. I was like, okay. I was like, well, let me mark the floor. And then John was like, okay, cool. And then I was just like, well, I should also mark how far forward I can go and how far backward I can go. So the other lines on the side, you got that. And then John, being anal, was like, well, I'm going to make it a square just so I could have that. So after we designed it on the second day, the third day we show up to record, and somebody removed all those lines.
Oh, Jesus.
So all the work we did before,
you got to redo it all.
Yeah. Because all those lines are gone, and the lines that we put underneath the tripod were gone. So on day 3 we started.
Yeah, now your camera angle and everything's different that
right.
you use.
So
like it's not, you can't use.
So again, we were just back to doing stuff, and like so again, you see a mic stand. I developed like John. When we looked at it, we were like, John was like, you got to always punch in the same place. And
I was wondering what that was. I was watching this video. I'm like, what is that?
So I was like,
mic
I looked
stand.
around so I was looked around the room, and I saw a mic stand, and I was like, can I put tape on the mic stand? And then John was like, that's not our mic. I don't have authority to do that. We have to go look for Dan Forden, the guy who does the sound and music to this, to allow you to use the mic stand to make marks on it. So then we go around
There's
Midway.
No way. There's no way that happened.
We're walking around Midway looking for Dan Forden, who I didn't know at the time. And he's like, hey, Dan, this is Dan. And I was like, Dan. And he's like, Dan. And I was like, Dan, do your other Dan a favor. Can I use your mic stand to put, I'm going to mark it with tape. So that way, each time I throw a kick, it's in the same place. And then I was like, and two, the next person who uses it will also kick in the same place.
I think this is hilarious. It's like a bunch of guys like in high school. It sounds like, hey, man, do you mind if I borrow this?
So Dan Ford was like, oh, he's like, I understand what you're doing. I'll make sure that nobody removes the tape from it. So then Dan Ford let me use the Troy Toasty, correct, the mic stand to make sure that I hit the spots. You know,
this is wild. I can't believe that.
This is the basic
big budget. You got big budget.
So we were doing experimenting with like that for about 5 or 6 days, and then on the 5th or 6th days, John was like, "Hey, I think we're ready. We're going to invite the programmer in, which is Ed Boone. You met him when we pitched the idea to the game. So this was like he's going to come in and take a look at what we have and try to help us arrange it so he can use it." To program the game. And then I was like, I must have gave a puzzled look because he's like, you know what? Ed can explain better than me what we need. So he's going to tell you what you need, and then you got to make the idea physical. So
this is your pitch now. You gotta be on point now.
Well, not really, because we already
you're already doing this thing.
Yeah, we already figured out like the basic moves. So we bring Ed in and said, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And then Ed was like adjusted the moves so he can use for programming.
For development.
So for development. So he actually kind of showed us what he wanted, stuck around for a couple hours, and then he went back in his office and let us come up with more stuff, basically. And that's how we created the whole pathway to the game.
That's insane. And then, so you did that multiple times for multiple characters. I mean, the ones I was only showing was for Johnny Cage, but
yeah, all those for like then after Johnny Cage was almost done, we were like, hey, we have to bring in Rich DeVizio, Kano. He didn't have a name yet, so we called him Hairy Guy. So we're going to bring in Hairy Guy,
but he was bald, right?
Well, at the time he still had hair.
Okay.
But he's really hairy, you know.
Yeah.
He's a paisan. He's hairy.
Hey, yeah. So, you know him better than I do. I don't want to insult him.
No, it's one of my best friends. So he knows it. I love that guy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna bring in Rich too. So he's like, can you show up for Rich's thing and show him what we need to do and help him make his character? Because again, we didn't want Kano to look like he was doing the same kicks exactly like Johnny Cage.
Right, because people got to have different moveset. I've seen that footage. It's cool. If you're watching, you should check that footage out on YouTube. You can see you're like in the foreground. You're telling him what to do. It's really cool.
Yeah. So and two, we didn't have a name for that Hollywood guy. We call him Hollywood guy. Too. We didn't have any names for any of them. Those were made up later when the game was close to being done. Kano is Italian, Dan.
Kano was Italian.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, and proud of it. So we kind of like, and two, like the different mechanisms to make the game were all done with Johnny Cage. Like at one point, I was doing jumps. I was jumping up the air. John is like, after I decided what kind of leg sweep we're going to do, we went through different leg sweeps. I was like, oh, this is the coolest leg sweep is this. And John was like, oh, let's put it in the game. And then we're like, if somebody's going to sweep your leg and you're going to avoid it, what would you do? And I was like, well, we got to show a block and we also have to show like a jump.
Right.
So we're doing this jump. And then when I would jump up, the lighting would make my head go darker.
Mm-hmm.
And so John is like, jump lower. And so I started jumping lower and John is like, but pick up your legs. Jump lower and pick up your legs. So I'm trying to jump as low as I can and pick up my legs at the same time.
Yeah, because you do like this little
get over it. And then John is like, hold your legs up longer. And I kind of look at him like, so we're gonna float. You want me to float? And John starts laughing. And I was like, so here's an idea. You get me jumping up and then take a frame of me sitting on something, and then I will look like we could capture that.
You can
with
move it up.
Even.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And John is like, that is a really good idea. Let's get a chair. And then I explained to him, if we do it on a chair, it's going to look like I'm sitting on a chair. And so I was like, well, hold on. Let me think for a second. So John is fiddling with the camera, and I was like, John, I see a staircase. And in the making of, you'll see the staircase.
Yep.
I was like, John, if we use the staircase, when you jump, there's a certain kind of physicalness to it. It doesn't look like you're sitting comfortably on something. You know what I mean? When you're jumping, doing a jump, you do that. So if I balance myself on the stair, it will look like I'm jumping, and I could tuck my legs in a way that the chair doesn't limit me. And so so John was like, oh, okay, that's a really cool idea. So we used the staircase to kind of be in the place of jumping. So,
and that staircase is in so much of the footage. It's hilarious. It just looks like a wooden staircase.
Yeah, because it was used on a different game, and I just happened to be like, oh,
okay.
I was like, just happened to be like, oh, if we could use this for a lot of different positions,
poses. It's
to
like
make
everything.
Each character look different. That way, each character doesn't look like they're sitting in a chair. So we use that staircase for anything. But this is one of the things that we conquered with Johnny Cage to make him look like, to make him look uniform, like he was actually doing things. So with Kano, we
also a treadmill. I've got a photo of a treadmill too.
Actually, we didn't use that until Kano.
Oh, really?
I didn't have a treadmill. I had to do everything without the treadmill. And John was like, after we did it with Kano, he was like, yeah, it kind of looks a little better. So then we reshot later on Johnny Cage doing his walk with a treadmill. So that idea manifested as a creative ideas flowed.
It's just got ideas. Awesome. Like, it's so like grassroots skunk work, just so cool.
Yeah.
Literally, like you and I were talking about before we started, it's like how things were done back in the day. Like we see things now, like huge development companies, hundreds of developers, makeup artists, production, lighting crews, and here you got like a handful of guys coming up with like one of the greatest games ever. And just, oh, there's a staircase. Oh, there's a mic stand. Let's put some tape on it.
And two, it was like, when we were going to pitch the game to Ed, John was like, Tobias was like, who else can we get to the game who work for really cheap? And then I was like, well, we could get Tony Marquez, who was going to be Kung Lao. We could get Ho Sung Pak, Liu Kang, and John is like, we can't get Liu Kang. We can't get Raphael the Turtle. And I was like, you know what? If I ask him for a favor, because we were all best friends. Yeah, we're all best friends. I was like, if I ask him for a favor, he'll do this project. you know. And when I asked Ho-Sung and two, how competitive, like the creative idea. When I asked Ho-Sung to do this project, Ho-Sung was like, I will do it if I go last. That way I can see what all you do and I could do something that's better.
Ah, okay.
So each character kind of wanted to be better than the next character. Like when
stepping it up. That's the advantage of going last, right?
Yeah, that was kind of the thought of it. The only thing is there's an advantage of going first by saying that you created like the fighting engine. All the movements in Mortal Kombat that you see are created by Johnny Cage or Daniel Pesina. You know, even
that's
stuff
so
today.
Incredible, though. I mean, yeah, right.
Even
it's
stuff today.
Still today translates, right?
Yeah. Well, even today, like my first fatality, John was like, we need a way to finish him. We need a way to finish the character, like, you know, kind of kill him. And then John was just like, think of a way to kill him. And I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to jump up in the air and I want to put my fist through your skull. And then you look at the camera and you have a hole in your skull.
Yeah.
So we actually filmed that.
Oh my gosh.
We have to film that. And then John was later on was like, we can't do that because that's too difficult. Think of it something else. And I was like, how about if the guy is so beat up, he drops to your knees and then I brutally beat him up and then I punched his head off. And then John was like, let's film that. So we actually filmed that and John looked at it and he's like, we also need another one. Maybe we should have 2 fatalities. And I was like, really? Like, I just really want to punch a guy's head off.
Well, you got it.
And so that was it. And then the idea of a huge uppercut, the idea progressed as we did it. I saw a question. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And I got your fatality here.
So the uppercut started really short, like an actual fighting. An uppercut is used very close and really short because it's easy to counter if it's really big. So then when we looked at it, the first day's filming, we wanted a little bit bigger. So it got progressively bigger as it went. So and it was super enormous when finally Ed took a look at it and he's like, man, we should make that super enormous, you know, and have that guy, whenever somebody gets hit with that, they go really flying. So in the end, Ed took that idea of an uppercut and made it super enormous.
But which was like the iconic thing. Like there was nothing better. I mean, anyone on the stream, tell me differently, but like when you were a kid in the 90s and you went to an arcade and you were crouched down and you're just waiting to land that uppercut, like that is Mortal Kombat, you know, aside from everything else too, but those uppercuts, that's it.
So it's just again, it's a collaboration. We took something and then finally he really looked at it and he's like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Make it even bigger. And that's going to be so cool. So a lot of times, and it was always about trying to like, because, you know, Tobias was the lead of the project. In reality, though, we all can say we're co-creators or we got to create a lot of stuff. And in reality, Tobias is the father of Mortal Kombat. He's the one who came up with most of the ideas and even a lot of the ideas that the way the movie, the game would fight. Was Tobias was really the lead on that, making sure that this was his baby, basically. So and two, with him being the lead, he would always listen to the best idea.
See, that's cool. That's what a good leader does, right? Listen to everybody around you, letting you help, like you were saying, Rich, right, and helping him do some of the things and teach people, right? Like that's what works, right? So the question came up earlier too. You go ahead.
Plus he kind of had to because he promised me that I could do that. So that was part of the agreement.
Part of the pizza deal, right?
Yeah, it's part of the deal is to help create the game and put in things that I wanted into the game to give me that.
That was your deal.
That was the deal of doing the game. But yeah, it was really. We would take, we would always take even like the creation of Scorpion's fatality. Quick story. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. No, you're fine. I love it. This is great.
So, Tobias was like, "Okay, I want you to blow flames and burn somebody as a fatality." and I'm like, John, I'm not going to do that. And John is like, "Why?" And then I'm like, John, if I blow flames, my whole head will be on fire because the material will catch fire.
You said this?
And John was like, don't be a a-hole. I don't know if I can swear.
Just do it. We're paying pizzas.
No, he's like, pull down the mask and blow fire. And then Rich DeVizio was like, oh my God, what if he pulls the mask off and he's a skeleton?
No
and
way.
Then I was like, the skeleton's head is on fire and he's blowing fire. And then we're like, oh my God, that would be so cool. So just that fatality, whenever that's the process of doing the game was. So when you see that, you can see like how it kind of changed.
That's so cool. I didn't
From
know
being
this
a
stuff.
smartass.
This is
Yeah,
super
from being
cool.
a smartass, you know, and not wanting to just blow flames because my whole head would be on fire, into that fatality. That's how it was. Just
That's
the
why I keep
whole
saying
thing
it's like
was
it's
that.
like a bunch of kids hanging out, like, oh, and his
yeah.
head should be a skull, and his skull should be on fire, and he should
Yeah.
come out of like a dragon's mouth, right? It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
like all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The question came up earlier about talking about creativity and coming up with things, and I had it up on the stream a second ago, but I have to ask about the the nut punch. You got to ask about the nut punch if we're talking to you, right? Let's see if I can get it back here.
Yeah.
So who or how or where did the infamous Johnny Cage nut punch come from?
Johnny Cage's nut punch came from John asked me to do it because Ed really wanted that Van Damme game. And that's why we wanted to have a satire of Johnny Cage in the games, because Ed really wanted that he really wanted that idea of the game in there. Even though that game got turned down, we were doing this game. He was like, come on. He's like, Danny, do some moves. And that's where the pizza is always a joke with us, because whenever he wanted me to kind of mimic, like for that split, I was like, no, man, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, I'll buy you pizza.
I give you credit for doing the splits too. I was like, I was
like, you're going to buy me a pizza if I do the splits. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll do the splits first.
And you can see here, like, you're holding it, like,
yeah,
that's no joke.
We did,
like,
we did that like 50 times, about 10 different ways. And in the end, John was like, you know what? I think the second or third take was the best one and the one I'm going to use. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, dude, you really made me do more splits. And John was goofing around. He gets like the smirk. He gets the smirk and his nose gets wide. The hair gets wide. And he's like, I needed you to pay for the pizza. So
you had to earn it.
Yeah, I had to earn it.
No, just keep going. Just keep going.
So it was like, it was not comfortable, but but you do it for the game.
Oh man,
sake of the game.
It's so iconic, right? It's so cool. A question did come in from Christina McKay to have, obviously Sonya Blade, right? Who I think I've heard the story a little bit. Liz Elizabeth, I think she was a friend that you knew.
Yeah.
But idea to have Sonya in the original game. Can you maybe comment on that for a minute here?
I only know what was said during our pitch and during our meetings with John, and I know that when we were pitching the game to Ed, that he did say that we might need a female character, to start looking around for somebody who would be willing to work cheap and do a female character.
That was always a key requirement. Works cheap.
Yeah. So yeah, even at the beginning, later on, the decision to pull it in was more of John and Ed's decision to bring it in. But at the beginning, he did plan on trying to have a female character as well as some extra characters.
No, I think it's great.
The game.
Right? I mean, female characters are iconic today. And then another question came in too. These are great questions. If you guys have them, keep them coming in. As I always say, like if you've got questions, feel free to chime in. It's awesome. Keep them coming. Favorite character besides, you can't pick yourself. It's like one of those rules, right? But I mean, you're kind of a lot of those characters, let's say.
Yeah,
too.
my favorite, even though, I had a major creation in Scorpion and Sub-Zero, my favorite character is Raiden. I originally wanted to be Raiden. And John was like, no, you're going to be Stryker. And I was like, I don't want to be Stryker. How about the Michael Grimm character, the Daniel that was modeled after Daniel Rad? Johnny Cage is actually mostly Dan. Even though the company will say different when we were making the game. Otherwise, I would not have done it. If they were telling me, you got to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, I'd be like, John, we're not making the game. So.
And Raiden.
Turn off my foot.
No, you're good. Good. And Raiden's your brother. Your brother is actually the motion capture.
And I was like, and then he was like, no, I'm going to give it to your brother Carlos, and you are going to be Stryker. So I did not want. So I want to be Raiden. So Raiden is like one of
who's not in the first one, and I'm sorry, I can't remember. Is he? Is he in two? He's in two. Yeah. He's in two.
1 and 2.
Yeah,
not three. But also, really quick, I see
go for it.
Question on Bloodsport. Bloodsport. Bloodsport, the movie?
It must be the Van
Okay.
Damme movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Troy,
Yeah,
you
but
got to
that-
clarify that. I think they were.
Yeah,
I think he's
two-
referring to like the Nut Punch inspiration.
Oh yeah. So that was the Nut Punch inspiration was from Bloodsport. So
That's
we
why
got it in there for the price of a pizza. I'll do anything for food
Hey, man.
or alcohol.
We're gonna send you some pizza after this. We're gonna get you some Giordano's, or if
Yeah,
you're a
right.
Lou Malnati's fan, I don't know which one you pick.
Both. I don't discriminate.
Okay, see, I know my Chicago pizzas at least.
Yeah.
All right, this is great. So we're gonna move on to round 2. Is that
Fight.
okay? Was that
Yeah.
pretty good or no? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was ready.
So round 2, fight. So Mortal Kombat 2 now. So we're moving on to Mortal Kombat 2. I'm a little curious to know about this. So we've talked a lot about MK1, how again, real grassroots this thing was and driven by all you guys. But maybe you can give us a little glimpse into MK2. So obviously, first one, I've heard you tell the story a couple times. You know, you guys were expecting to sell like 200 cabs, and then it's 10,000 later.
Yeah. Originally, they said, when we were making the game, the first joke was not a joke, but they were like, this is going to be a small project. We're going to make 200 arcade cabinets. And then I told John and Ed, no, you're going to do 201 because I will get a cabinet. And they're like, no, you know how expensive they are. And then I was just like, okay, but if you give me a cabinet, then if you want to make more cabinets, I'll just let you make cabinets.
Which you are on. If you guys, if people don't know, I got on the stream. Daniel Pesina on the side art of all the MK cabinets, MK1 cabinets. Incredible.
Yeah. John put me on there.
That's awesome. When
he put me on there, he's like, man, this is your reward for really making this game happen and making my vision come true. Yeah. But anyway, we're doing number 2. We're doing number 2, and they converted that storage space into that we shot number 1 into a studio. They got a digital camera, a really nice, expensive camera. There was lighting. There was like actual, for MK1, I think we borrowed lights, desk lights and stuff like that to try to get an even lighting. And
there was this thing called a budget now.
Yeah, there was that. So, and then they were like, they're going to have some new characters, and they, John asked me, hey, we're going to have some new characters. Can you kind of scope out some people we could take a look at for a new character? So for that game, I introduced them to Catalin, who was Katana Molina, John Parrish, who was Jax, the Mighty Jax.
He was huge, by the way.
Yeah, he's bigger now. He's in way better shape now. He's like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's ripped. Because, he was younger and he used to party. So he would get in shape, but then off season, because he's a bodybuilder, he would, you eat whatever you want because you're just consuming calories.
Oh yeah, just eating.
So we got to, and then Kung Lao, originally Scorpion, the Lin Kuei were going to be Tony Marquez. Kung Lao was going to be them. But he actually, the night before he was going to film his part, he dropped a 25-pound weight on his foot and broke it. So he couldn't be the Lin Kuei.
Oh my gosh.
And then John asked me to step into 2. We were running behind schedule just because, we didn't know anything about the game, how to make the game. So that developing the pathway to the game really took a long time.
Yeah.
Relative to everything.
And were the expectations on this thing? I mean, obviously going from 200 cab expectation to 10,000, now you're getting ready to start production on 2.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
what was the yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they pre-sold 10,000. So they sold more than 10,000 cabinets, but they pre-sold, meaning
right.
Hey, we're going to make this. Anybody want to pre-buy them? Oh yeah, there's 10,000 orders to pre-buy them.
Can't even imagine how many hundreds of thousands of cabinets.
With the second one, we had a bigger budget. We got a boost in pay, a small boost in pay, and we got to have more fun.
That's so cool, though. So, how long did everything take? It's one question I had for the first one. I didn't ask too, but maybe as it relates to the second Mortal Kombat, like how long did all this? Because for people to understand too, like even talking about Mortal Kombat 1 and now 2, like motion capture really hadn't been done a lot before. Pit Fighter was like the only other game I believe that had it, which was also terrible. So but how long did some of this motion capture actually take to shoot?
Well, the Johnny Cage took a really long time. Like I said, building the pathway to the game took at least 5 8-hour days.
Hmm.
You know, just to develop get an idea of what we're doing, and we would always come up with something, and then we'd come back and reshoot because there was somebody would get an idea, and then you'd have to shoot a reaction to that idea, or kind of make it fit in, or to balance out the character, we'd have to think of another move to kind of give everybody a balanced play. So both of the games took about 8 or 9 months to make. So but the crew on the second one was way bigger than the crew on the first.
That's what I was just going to say too. I mean, yeah.
Basically, the first one had 2 graphic artists, John Tobias and John Vogel, and then they had 5 or 6 programmers. And I recall I was like, man, why do they have so many programmers? And he's like, well, that's just more time consuming. You know, a couple of times we had John and Tobias had a conversation about that. You know, how that was really, really, took a lot of time to do.
Oh, sure.
Those guys worked. You know, some days they wouldn't work, and then all of a sudden they'd work 3 days in a row. So
they're probably just living at their office. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of like always a given. You're like a fireman. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off. You know. So so it was. And then us. With the martial arts. Me. I've been studying since 1968 or 69 until that day. So like a lifetime of martial art experience. To help these guys create the game. That's also time consuming, but in a different way.
It was just surreal too. I mean, like honestly, like just seeing this thing. I mean, again, any kid that grew up in that era, like you have to remember Mortal Kombat, right? Like, what was that like for you at that time? Just seeing this franchise explode.
Yeah, it was really cool. It started, John originally wanted it to look like, that game with Derek, with the dragons, it's basically a Dungeons and Dragons game. I forget what.
You talking about Double Dragon?
No. It was made on a disc.
Oh, Dragon's Lair?
Dragon's Lair. Originally,
like the motion capture Dragon's Lair?
John originally wanted it to look like the motion capture in Dragon's Lair, and Ralph Bakshi,
like the cartoonish with a motion capture esque,
right? Because there was that movie with Ralph Bakshi did the animation for Lord of the Rings back in the day, where the orcs were basically drawing placed over live image.
Yep, right.
So he wanted it originally something like that, but the technology and the budget didn't support that. So basically, he got videotape of us, and then he would kind of the way it just looked after we put it in a digital system came out to what it was. And he would touch that up. Yeah.
And do you still have some of that film? You were sharing a cool story. You mind sharing with people?
I have like about 6 or 7 hours of videotape, but not all of it is action. A lot of times when we were making the game, we would turn the camera off to save tape, basically, and we would chat about what we wanted to do or what moves to come up with, or just to kind of get an idea too, to make each of the characters look a little different. It was really important to us. Yeah. To make everyone look unique.
So quick, hit pause. We got to save some tape. We can restart recording here in a minute. Yeah, you were telling me the story. You were telling me that story at the beginning. You mind sharing with people how they recorded over original footage?
Yeah, originally, just because of the process, we recorded over the original footage of the making of the game. I spent 5 or 6 days, 8-hour days, dressed just in sweat clothes, doing martial art moves, trying to see what would work on the first day, then trying to get other ideas. As I was saying, like if you see the footage of there's tape that originally wasn't there. On the second day of filming, when we took a look at the camera, we realized that if you're closer to the camera, you're bigger. If you're further away, you're smaller. So John had to erase all that tape, and I was like, John, we got to mark the floor. So John let me mark the floor. And then I was like, when we were doing that, I was like, you know what? I better mark how far I can go forward without changing lighting, and how far I go backward. So I would kind of inch my way forward, and John would be like right there, and then I'd mark the tape. And then I'd inch back and mark the tape. And then John, being anal, he was like, I got to make that a square because there's no way we're just going to have two pieces of, because I cut tape willy-nilly.
Yeah, you just like rip it off.
Yeah. And he's just
I've got a classic one here. I got to
trim. Yeah, I got to trim that stuff. And so we created that over like 3 days. And two, after the second day of filming, when we came back to the third day of filming, somebody had removed the tape. So remove the tape and remove the tape where we put the tripod. So we had to retape everything and restart everything. But we were coming up with different ideas and stuff of this whole process. So by the end of the 5th or the 6th day, we pretty much had like, you know, we knew we wanted a big uppercut, you know, and thanks to Ed, it was bigger. But, you know, we knew we already had the sweep locked down. We already had the way to fall locked down. We already came up with the idea of how to make somebody jump up without losing lighting. You know, I came up with that. I came up with a way to make targets so that way everybody could hit in the same place. So different things. Height. John came up with we have to have everybody the same height, so we got to mark the wall behind us. So, you know, we came up with this basic formula for others to follow in that. But all that tape of us making that up never survived because
Gone.
we would erase that to.
You got to tape over it.
Yeah, you got to tape over it. Yeah, we got to just tape over that.
So
stuff,
do you literally have some VHS tapes at your house with like one of those
John eventually
white stickers?
Actually, John originally, after we were done, he's like, "Hey, you know, you helped really create this game. You know, helped me a lot with this. I'm going to give you the footage, what we have, surviving footage of what you have, and you can use it however you want to promote yourself or whatever it is. Later on, Warner Brothers won't let me show it, but at the time, John was like, just go ahead and just show everybody what you created. You know,
that's so cool.
You know,
well, there's some good stuff out there on YouTube and the internet. You
Yeah.
guys can find. Like I've been showing some of the clips. One question did come in too, like some of the Easter eggs. Were you aware of some of the stuff, like, you know, like how you got to fight Reptile or just things as they were developing the game? Were you aware of these being hidden in the game and how they'd be exposed?
I didn't. Not quite aware, but like when we were filming Raiden and some of Kano, Carlos and Rich came up the idea of having a tag team, but they wanted to have a secret tag team, and they only wanted Kano and Raiden to be the tag team. They didn't want any other characters to have the tag team, but they were like, we want a way where you hit a certain button during a certain time, and all of a sudden you get to have Raiden and Kano fighting against you. You know, fighting.
Yeah.
You control Raiden and Kano, and you can overcome.
This is like classic Midway too, like what Midway was always known for in all their development and everything. Yeah.
So they kind of like wanted to have like a tag team, and that. So eventually, I think later on they have the idea of a tag team in later.
In later games.
Series. Yeah, but you know, just different things, or like too when we were filming. When they decided to make Scorpion, the first Lin Kuei, into 2 Lin Kuei, John was like, you know what, you better do extra moves in case we want to make another Lin Kuei, another ninja. So create some more fighting postures. Actually, I have pictures, I think, of some
so funny.
fighting postures that were designed for other Lin Kuei. So yeah,
that's crazy.
So just ideas and stuff like that. Just
that's all this stuff
ideas
comes from.
Yeah, and then other people just seeing stuff and being like, "Oh, we want to do this with that or that with that." It was a big collaboration.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Good. Yeah, you know, and then people were just coming up with ideas all the time. It was awesome.
It's really cool. So I'm going to get back to some questions. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to keep myself on schedule here too. I'm doing a quick time check. This is awesome though. These are some cool stories. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all this.
Yeah.
So it's like you and I were talking beforehand too. Like it's super amazing that you still, you know, go to obviously a lot of these shows and do stuff in the community and talk about your experience in building this thing. I saw recently, you know, I'm stalking you on Twitter every once in a while because I know you're coming to our show hopefully in November still. So it's gonna be great.
Hopefully.
But
fingers crossed.
You're doing a lot of stuff. You're in the Chicago area. Saw you recently you're at Galloping Ghosts, right? That's incredible. And do you do a lot of shows like in cons and things like that? They're focused around Mortal Kombat. I think there used to be, I don't know if there is still, but it was at Prince's Arcade. They used to do like a Combat Con or Galloping Ghost or something. You still do a lot of that stuff?
Yeah, actually we Jeremy's Prince's Arcade, we stop by once in a while because he's our friend, and Doc naturally is our friend. We did before when we man, it was difficult to do that, to get everybody to show up to an event. Is really difficult. Doc and his team put it together. So I go just before I came on for this interview, I had an interview with Ecuador, who has a Comic-Con. So I'm going down there too in December. So so yeah, I do.
Leaving Chicago for Ecuador in December sounds like a good gig.
So last year I actually was doing one every 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, traveling.
Wow.
So if I get the chance, I try to go and visit. Try to just explore whatever I can explore.
So you still keep in touch with a lot of one of the questions I had was, you still keep in touch with a lot of those guys, like like you're talking about, whether Elizabeth or Ho-Sung or Richard, like a lot of those guys, like hey, what's going on?
Like at least Kung Lao and Kano Baraka I talk to at least a couple times a week. Naturally my brother is my brother, and Liz I haven't talked to in about since Christmas, because she used to live near me, and now she moved to Arizona. She's a hospice nurse.
Oh wow!
So it's pretty funny that Sonia, who would
blow,
kill you,
kisses of death.
Actually, I created that.
Oh really?
But she now cures people. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So she's a hospice nurse and kind of leads people gently into the darkness.
I was gonna say, don't tell anyone that in hospice care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so talk to text Ho-Sung once in a while. So try to keep in touch with them.
That's
Philip,
cool.
Dr. Philip On, who's Shang Tsung, chat with him when I can, or Jax, John Parrish. Chat, sometimes same thing with Catalin, Sonia. Melina Katana.
Yeah.
Whenever we can. We get busy, but we still touch base.
It's so fun
when we can, and just get calls and make sure how each other are doing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think a great question came in from Kevin. Any, I'll say, interesting con or show stories with fans? Maybe anything come to mind of maybe a wild fan or something like that happened? Any interesting stories?
One of the stories that I share a few times is Mortal Monday. They flew us out to London to do Mortal Monday. And so we're posing out, and it's kind of brisk, but I'm in the Johnny Cage. So basically in the biker shorts and skimpy shoes and shirtless. And I'm posing, and we're posing, doing these poses. And during one of these poses, the crowd got a little close, and some guy reached around underneath me and grabbed my nuts.
No, he did not.
Not hard, but gently.
All right. It doesn't matter.
Around,
it doesn't matter.
I turn around like fist cocked, but Liz Malecki, Sonia, saw it, and she fell on top of me laughing. And so all of a sudden I almost fell to the floor, and she's just like, just laughing because she witnessed this, and this guy got away. But that is one of the strangest.
What do you mean he got away? He ran away?
Yeah, he ran away. He ran away. Yeah, he ran away. But it was just hilarious. And then Ho-Sung was there too, Liu Kang, and he's just laughing. He's like, "What happened? What happened?" And Liz couldn't. She would almost peed in her pants. She just couldn't tell the story until eventually she got the story. But they made fun of me the whole trip over that.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be pretty jealous on the stream. So consider yourself blessed, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a surprise. Toasty.
So for everyone coming to our show in November, things not to do to Master Daniel Pesina, please do not do that. Please do not do that. This is great. Question coming through. It's great. Thanks, Scarlett, for the question. How long have you been training people? You mentioned earlier, and it's a question I've got for you later too, in terms of martial arts. How long have you been doing this?
I've been training. Actually, I used to train my brother, Rich Kano, is my student, and then Kung Lao and Liu Kang are classmates. So I would say 1980, before MK, so 87, maybe.
Yeah, late 80s. Yeah,
been training people. Yeah, late 80s. I started teaching people, but I taught them at my master's school, not specifically at my own school. I didn't have my own school till the year 2000. So,
that's
training a long time.
I've got a great photo up of you here. And I also do want to do a shout out too. Like if do you want to tell people your Twitter handle or any of the social
Yeah,
that you have out
yeah,
there too, if they want to follow you and check out some of the stuff you're doing?
yeah. Really fast. That picture is a picture of a style called Kaoshu Fanzichuan, which is basically this famous fighter killed somebody related to the Chinese emperor, and the Chinese emperor couldn't execute him because he was a very righteous guy. So they shackled him from the arms and the hands. But while he was in prison, he created a style that's done in shackles. And the picture you have there, it's really, really rare, even in China. And I actually learned that style, so that picture is kind of like that style. So again, if you look up, I have some videos of different stuff on Instagram, which is Master D Pesina. I posted also on Twitter, Master Pesina, and on Facebook, Master Pesina. And the only reason I have Master D Pesina on on Instagram, is because I couldn't remember the password for Master Pesina. And in order to change the password on Instagram, maybe somebody can enlighten me, you have to know your old password. Which
You don't want to
like,
go back now. You're already so invested. You can't.
Well, yeah.
Back.
Well, two. I was like, why would I change my password if I didn't remember it? You know what I mean? I would just keep the password.
I just thought it was a cool looking photo. I'm like, man,
yeah, but
you look like a badass in this photo. Sorry, I don't know if that's like a martial art term, but yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, that's I do about 28 different weapons. I know 28 different weapons. I have done a few different styles. So yeah, if you're interested, also
honestly, like
my website, Master Pesina. So
yeah, his Twitter, honestly, I mean, some of the videos you put out there and the swords you've got, and I don't know the technical term for a lot of stuff you're swinging around, but I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, toys. They're all toys.
What's your Twitter again for people out there?
Best is Instagram, Master D Pesina on Instagram, because they let you kind of, you could go to my actual homepage and see all the videos like all the way down.
Awesome. This is great. Also too, I had to ask, so the Insert Coin documentary, for people that don't know, there was a documentary. It was supposed to come to the Cleveland International Film Festival. Joshua, I'm going to butcher his last name, Sue. I'm going to assume it's Sue. I don't know how to.
Sway? Josh Sway.
Sway, sorry. Was supposed to be showing the film at the Cleveland International Cleveland Film Festival, but that obviously got postponed with everything going on with COVID. But I saw in the trailer, you've got a pretty cool appearance in that. I mean, real quickly, can you tell us anything about that? I haven't seen the film. Have you seen it at all? Have you seen the film?
I did not get a chance to see it. I was when he was previewing it last year, I was like out of the country most of the time. Okay. Luckily or unluckily.
Yeah.
But again, maybe I could talk to Josh, a friend of mine. Maybe I could get some kind of preview to show at Cleveland Gaming Classic.
Yeah, I mean, this documentary looks incredible.
20 minutes or something.
Oh man, it looks super cool. Yeah. It's called Insert Coin. If you guys haven't checked it out, it was on the Cleveland International Film Festival website. They were going to show it here. I had everything set up to buy tickets. Then it was like the week before they canceled it, and it's a complete story of Midway and everything. Sounds
it's. I hear that he told me that it took so long to get out because he has enough for about 8 or 10 documentaries.
Wow.
He could do a documentary on each game. Just he's got so much material. So this.
Well, maybe there'll be Insert Coin 2. Continue.
Hopefully everyone will support Insert Coin Josh Way, and hopefully he'll come out with more stuff.
Oh man,
it's always cool to see that.
It seems cool to see that stuff developing. So I'm doing a time check. One of the questions I did want to ask too, it's a little controversial, but I think you've talked about it before. So obviously Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, and then Johnny Cage is absent from Mortal Kombat 3, right? I don't know if you can kind of tell us a little bit or share some of that story and kind of maybe what happened there. And I know there's a little bit of controversy there. I think it's a cool story, and maybe just to hear it from you with everything that happened at that time.
Yeah,
if you wouldn't mind.
Actually a little more complicated, but basically, when I signed on to do the game, to help John with the game, you know, him and Ed promised that they'd only do 200 arcade cabinets.
Right.
So then they pre-sold 10,000, and I was like, hey, that's more than 200. And they're like, don't worry, you'll get a bonus. You know, John was like, don't worry, these guys are not jerks. You'll get a bonus.
Yeah.
And then it went to the home version, and he was like, well, he's like, kind of like, well, yeah, but you know, don't worry, you're going to get a bonus. So just in a perspective, when I did Johnny Cage, the pathway to the game, and then I did most of Johnny Cage. Then I was helping with Kano, and during one of the times we were filming Kano got a check. And then I looked at John and I was like, Kano gets a check. I haven't got a check yet. I haven't got paid yet.
You're like doing this little scratch.
Yeah, it's been like almost 2 months and I haven't gotten paid. And he's like, you haven't gotten paid? And I was like, no. And he's like, sorry, these guys are late to pay. So he's going to get paid. So I was used to kind of like them not paying on time.
And you guys are friends too, right?
Yeah. So we're going on to the second game and I'm like, okay. And I'm waiting for them to eventually, I'm not a pushy guy. Maybe I should have been. But I'm a pushy guy, and I was just like, okay, eventually they'll get to payment. So we were finishing up with 2, and then I started asking, hey, where's my bonus?
Mm-hmm.
And so, 2, I'll branch off a little bit.
Yeah, you're fine.
2, at that point, they were just like, you know, they handed me a different contract. Hey, will you sign this? And my original contract only says that I'm going to do arcade cabinets. This other
didn't say anything about home port.
And this other contract, they say home port. All of a sudden, now they're saying home port, image rights, intellectual property rights. They're going to hit me up with stuff, and I was like,
and this is for 2 at the time.
Yeah, this is at the end of 2.
Okay,
not at the beginning of 2. At the end of 2, and I was like, you know, I'm going to take this to the lawyer, and basically I took it to the lawyer, and he's like, they want you to sign away all your rights, and they're going to own everything you've ever. You know, you can't even wear sunglasses in public without their permission, basically. So I was like, you know, you guys promised me this stuff, and basically the upper management was like, hey, do you have any of that in writing? And I didn't have anything in writing. I had it all verbal.
Verbal agreement, right?
Yeah, I just kind of stopped working on the game. Also at that time, John called me up during that time, was like, hey, remember the guy who used to help with the backgrounds, Leaf? He's working for Strata. He wants you to help him promote his game.
And that was that Bloodstorm?
Yeah, that was Bloodstorm. And the guy who made that game actually did help with the background art of MK2.
I did not know that.
So John was just like, you know, but you cannot dress exactly like Johnny Cage. But you can wear sunglasses because that's who you can wear sunglasses because we don't own the rights for your sunglasses.
Right. Yeah.
And he was just like, you know what? You better come in for lunch tomorrow, and Ed could tell you exactly what you can do and what you can't do. So I basically show up to the first time and only time I've ever been in Ed's office, cool office. Ed was just like, well, you can't wear the exact, even though you own most of the costume, you can't wear the exact costume. You know, you're going to have to make it look a little different, and then. You know, then you're going to do that and make sure you charge them a lot of money because those guys have a lot of money. So that's how it ended with Ed and John. So I went and did this. And later on, I know that Midway released like a propaganda that, we fired him. But actually it wasn't. I wasn't really fired. I quit because they didn't pay me what they promised to kind of pay me.
Right.
You know, they're representatives. They're representatives, John and Ed.
Yeah, it wasn't John and Ed per se themselves. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't their their legal team, but they could have, let's say, had influence on that.
Yeah. And too, even to this day, I don't talk to Ed anymore, just because, you know, he was the manager. He was the representative of Midway more than John. He was the manager of the game. We pitched the idea to Ed and took it back to the higher arcs. So I'm a little mad at him because I always thought that he could have done a little bit more as far as, you know, helping us out, you know.
To advocate for that.
For that, you know, in the end, you know, having different things, having Sonya's fatality, having Get Over Here, having all this stuff that we created, we never even got like credit for that. You know, if you hear, they never gave us, you know, that type of stuff. And two, they might have been threatened. I don't know, because that is intellectual property. Hey, if you don't, you know, if you say anything about this, we're gonna never
right, because they're in a boardroom too, and someone else is saying, hey, you can't give this up, or we're gonna lose everything.
And they're again, they're
It's
working
tough.
for the company. They're not, they don't own it. They could be under that, but that, yeah,
Right.
my, I still talk to John once in a while because he was my friend beforehand.
Yeah.
And he still, we have a deeper relationship, but Ed, I don't talk to again because again, it's a sore spot.
It's
I think
tough.
he could have done, I think he could have done a little bit more for us.
Yeah, that's tough.
For us. So
And
it's
I
a tough
appreciate you sharing
situation.
that too.
Yeah.
I think
So
it's an interesting part of history
yeah,
though too, right? I
yeah,
mean, like
yeah,
that's one of the things, I mean, kids like me remember growing up too. Is like, okay, you're playing 1 and 2 and then all of a sudden 3, like some of the
no,
iconic characters and like the Lin Kuei, like they weren't there.
yeah,
Like the
yeah. They've
game
got,
was,
they decide,
robots and
yeah,
different
they
looking
were,
guys, right? I mean, it was totally
and
different.
yeah, again, in my opinion, they decided to get rid of the stuff that I had the major creation with in
And
number
that's
three.
I think that's,
No Johnny Cage, no Scorpion, no Sub-Zero.
they try to kind of
Yeah,
say cut
yeah,
ties with it to a certain degree that maybe there
yeah,
wasn't any kind of rub or
but the fans,
conflict. Yeah.
but the fans wouldn't, that game was a failure.
Yeah.
They had to
No.
come out
Yeah.
with they had to come out with what was it?
Trilogy. They came out with,
Trilogy
where they brought back Johnny Cage, because in
Yeah.
3 they show it like he's dead, and
Yeah.
then they eventually bring him back, right?
Because and Scorpion and Sub-Zero too, they bought them back. Because,
Exactly.
again,
Because it's like
they're the iconic characters.
you kill off these characters that like 1 and 2 were built around, like things not to do, So
yeah. So
it's interesting. Again, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think it's an interesting part. It's an interesting part.
It's a good for us as creative geeks, for you guys to know that it's not bad to get an opinion of a lawyer, because sometimes your friends or your acquaintances have no say so in the end of what can be done, even though it didn't. They made promises, but they, for whatever reason, a whole ship maybe shouldn't go down. Maybe just in the end, maybe.
Well, no, and it also
more.
not to get too deep in it, but I mean, it's probably better for everyone at the end of the day, because then you're protected, they're protected. It's in writing, everyone's agreed, right? That's kind of unfortunately how things. That's unfortunately how things sometimes happen.
Yeah, but it happens, and it's for the best. If you got an idea, make sure you don't give it up.
Own it.
And
lawyer up.
Lawyer up. It's better. Everybody can stay honest, and everyone.
That's exactly. Just holds everyone accountable. The question did come in through too. Christina McKay, any input on, and I have a question about this later too. I'm kind of pivoting here, but we'll get to our lightning round here in a second. This is part of it. But any input in any of the creative for the Mortal Kombat movies? Maybe with a K. I don't know if there's one with a C, but we're going to assume it's with the K.
Yeah. That's difficult to say, because too, when they were coming out with the movie, we did. I think actually in your preview, you have a fight set.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually created that at Las Vegas, and I actually created that fight set for the producer of the movie to take a look at what
this one here, like this one you're talking about, or
yes, you have a fight set in there where Tony and I are fighting, and Rich is Scorpion behind me, and Raiden is there. But that fight, I designed that fight set. I choreographed that fight set specifically for that, because he was going to be taping us.
So it's I would definitely say it's an influence in there.
Two, I noticed that a lot of movie stills are modeled after stills that postures that I put
did
together.
The poses, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I put myself and Ho Sung, who's Liu Kang, in a pose, and then there's the exact same pose for a frame in the movie.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and that's happened a couple different times. So.
And then also too,
probably
the ending of I don't remember if this is 1 or 2, but I think this is, it was maybe a premonition. You go on to film many successful Mortal Kombat movies. I don't know if they were very successful.
Yeah, I don't know too. But that's John. John was deep into the story. Man, that guy was like really creative.
Which was also huge at the time, right? That's what we didn't have, like giant cutscenes or anything in CGI. Yeah. We had stories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we had. All right, cool. Anything else you want to share? I'm going to go in the lightning round here for a second. But if you guys do have any questions for Daniel Pesina, again, thanks for joining us here live. And I'm going to go into the lightning round. But if you have questions, keep coming them in. And are you ready to do this?
Hold on.
You got no. Go for it.
No. Two, if you have questions and we don't get to it, you could always message me on social media. I try to get to every flippant question that I can't, because me as a fan of different things, I would like my question answered, or some kind of contact with the people that I admire. So if you have a question too, shoot them in through and if we can't get them here, shoot them through Instagram or Facebook.
And I can attest to that, because that's how I originally got in touch with Master Daniel Pesina, is by stalking him online. So if you're looking to stalk him online, you can do that. He'll help you out.
and not so much Twitter, because I don't understand Twitter. I don't.
Instagram now. So Instagram, that's what everyone's doing. Is that what you want people to reach out to? Instagram.
Instagram's better, or Facebook. Yeah, but let's do it.
Lightning round. Here we go.
Get over here.
I always say I don't have a very fancy sound effect for lightning round, so we started this on our last interview. So it's up to the guest. It's the honor of the guest to make a lightning sound effect for us. Lightning sound effect, go. I love it. I love it. There's your Daniel Pesina, Johnny Cage sound effect. Let's go. All right. You ready? Let's. All right. Every time we say the word lightning round, I need that to happen. All right. Number one, most influential martial arts movie to you?
Kung Fu Cult Master, also known as Li Ting Dolunge. It's a fantasy fight kung fu movie.
I would have no idea if you're lying to me or telling me the truth. I'm going to believe it. It sounds real. Someone Google that. Favorite weapon as a martial arts instructor?
My favorite weapon as a martial art instructor is two-handed sword.
Two-handed sword. Have you ever had to finish someone?
If you look on my YouTube, I finished somebody to save John Tobias in a bar.
Mortal Kombat movies. The first one and Annihilation. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Both of them thumbs down, because I firmly believe they should be darker.
Okay. Lightning round? Okay, just checking. Can you name one Johnny Cage move?
Meaning besides the nut punch, or how to do it?
Well, yeah, if you could do one besides the nut punch, great. If not, we'll accept nut punch. We will accept
nut punch or shadow kick.
Okay. Both are acceptable.
Or here's something that you don't know. Johnny Cage's projectile is inspired by the movie Big Trouble in Little China. When Ed Chen takes stuff out of his 9-demon bag, and there's a demon coming out of the cave, and he throws the alchemy at the demon, and it goes back, and he says, "It will never come out again," or something.
You're lying.
No.
Big Trouble in Little China inspired Mortal Kombat, inspired Daniel Pesina. That's amazing.
Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
That is amazing.
1968 Olympics inspired me to lift my hand up in victory.
Oh my gosh.
So you know that.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
So different. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in there.
Oh, good one just came in. I love it when people type these in the chat too. Replace Johnny Cage in any movie as the lead star. What movie would you put him in? That's amazing.
I would put Johnny Cage in You Got Mail.
Love it. Another one. Whose idea was Test Your Might?
Test Your Might is the coin. I questioned Test Your Might. I asked John, what in the heck is Test Your Might doing in here? And he's like, quarters. This game is all about getting your quarters.
Oh, that's all those games were about.
When you mess up Test Your Might, you got to put in another quarter. And so Test Your Might is Tobias's idea, naturally, because Tobias's ideas were almost 90% of 1 and 2s as far as that stuff is concerned. So yeah, Tobias.
By the way, Kevin's response to your "You've Got Mail" is going to have been 5 minutes long and best movie ever. So true. Was that Meg Ryan in that?
Yeah, it's Meg Ryan. Yeah, and Tom Hanks.
Oh, and Dan Lalo, thank you for chiming. Raiden, Big Trouble, Little China.
Actually, Raiden. Actually, John Tobias wanted Raiden to be from the Japanese god of thunder, and his movement that is inspired by Big Trouble in Little China is Carlos Pesina, my brother's creation. My brother is the one who decided to make. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, it's not the original idea. It's just we got to create the characters. So Carlos created Raiden to look like Big Trouble in Little China because that's how it was. Just like I created Johnny Cage or or Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Rich with Kano. We got to create those characters.
I love it. I love it. Back to the lightning round. Okay, cool. Do you know how in Mortal Kombat how to perform Johnny Cage's finishing uppercut, his deadly uppercut?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, I Googled it. It's forward, down, up, close. What style / brand of sunglasses are you currently sporting?
Prada.
Damn, got that Prada money. Have you ever played any new Mortal Kombat games, like Mortal Kombat 11? Have you played it?
I played 11.
And
I like the graphics. I really like Shao Kahn's hammer moves. Hammer when he's just bashing them.
I have.
He doesn't
The
have
game
much
is just so violent. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, he doesn't have much martial arts skill, but his hammer is really cool.
And thoughts on Johnny Cage now?
I think he's a little too comedic. I think that they made him a clown after 2 just to get a gouge at me. Personally, that's my opinion, because that's if they have to accept me in the game, they're going to make me a clowny. So that's in reality, that's how I feel, or that's my opinion.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because he's a serious character.
And he's like so over the top now when you see this stuff.
Yeah. Too, when we were creating Mortal Kombat, even like when we were picking Liz and Catalan, we picked people who weren't, even though Catalan's a model, she studied, I knew her from martial art tournaments when she was a kid. So she can really, when she throws a punch, she can really knock you out. You know, Liz too. Liz was a gymnast.
Yeah, she was a trainer, right, or something, right?
But she knew how to punch. She would, like, when I hit head up the focus miss, she would knock your ass out.
That's wild.
She catches you, if she catches you loose, like acting all tough, and boom, hits you, pow.
She would have knocked out that guy that gave you the reverse nut punch.
Yeah. So when we were doing that, we wanted to make sure that everybody looked like they can really fight.
Like they could knock you on your ass, right?
Yeah.
You brought this up earlier. You were in TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze. So your favorite Ninja Turtle and why?
My favorite Ninja Turtle is Donatello, just because I'm named after the artist Donatello.
Nice, like it. And he's kind of like the smart one, but he's also a badass. He's got the staff, right? You're from the Chicago area, as we talked about earlier. I asked this of our guest from last week, who's also from Chicago, but I feel like I have to ask it. Favorite style of pizza? I'm going to give you 3 options. Chicago, like a deep dish, traditional style. New York, kind of the thin crust, or like we have here in, I'll say like Ohio, Midwest area, like a football style, like your classic Midwest pizza. Favorite style pizza?
I'm a pizza lover, so I don't discriminate, and I love all pizza except for if you're going to put on pineapple or anchovies. If you put on pineapple, that's not pizza. If you have anchovies, that is pizza, but I will not eat it. Not
for you. Do you watch any of the pizza reviews on Barstool Sports? You ever watch any of that?
No, I do
not.
I'm
going to talk about that. We'll take that conversation offline.
Yeah, you got to send me that. A link, and I'll watch it.
Blow your mind.
I love pizza. I have pizza. And 2, a quick thing. The best pizza that I've ever had, and I've traveled, not all the world, but I travel a lot, is in Argentina. Argentina has a weekend, 3 days long, where it's pizza, where you just walk around and go from pizza parlor and beer pubs for 3 days.
just like we wish we could do every day. I feel like that in quarantine right now. I'm like, what am I having tonight? Oh, a DiGiorno pizza. Great. That's awesome. I was worried about asking you this question. I'm like, oh man, super into martial arts. Maybe he's like into gluten-free pizza. I'm happy to know that you love pizza. Made my day. All right. Nerdiest thing about you now or in the past?
Nerdiest
thing. Ultra nerd. Turn your glasses upside down. You put on the nerd specs.
Yeah, that's really difficult because I am a nerd. I'm a geek.
You mentioned D&D earlier. That's pretty.
I still play D&D online.
Nice.
I mean, we do it online, or sometimes we get together at my brother Carlos Raden's house and play D&D, or sometimes we just get together as a group. Not as often as I would, but still to this day I play D&D.
That's wild.
And we do the board games. Yeah. So
That's you gotta do it in person, right?
And two, and it's difficult because I don't think that's nerdy. I think that's kind of like
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean,
but
you're in good company here, but you know.
Yeah, or I tell people not to touch my comic books. Maybe that too.
What kind of comics are you into
Right now? Well, I'm not into. What happens is my mom called me up and she's like, "I'm throwing out the comic books," and I was like, "No way!" So I run over there and I have like I find like my collection of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Iron Fist. I have some of Jack Kirby's Hulk. I have some Fantastic Four, Daredevil, just a big box of comics.
Yeah.
So don't mess with my comics.
Don't touch my comics, Mom. And bring me loaf. Question also came through: Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings. I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I usually had classes during that time, so I never got to watch it.
All right. Lord of the Rings is still there. Feel good about that.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
For sure. Let's do it.
Why do they even compare?
No, I know.
Compare.
Right. I would say
different genres.
Right.
Yeah, 2 different genres.
And the last, but I need everyone to be quiet on the set. Tell everyone to keep it down. Make sure we get this. Can I just get one get over here from you? Can I get one? Hold on.
Get over here.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been ultra fun. I mean, this is super cool. Hopefully you guys in the chat have had a great time. Again, this is super cool. We've been chatting with Master Daniel Pesina. Again, he's going to be at our show November 21 and 22 here in Cleveland. You can check out everything about our show at gamecleveland.com. Thanks for tuning in here live on Facebook. Is there anything you want to say to the folks watching or anything you want to plug? Here's your time. I'll give you the floor for a minute.
Yeah, just, we're going through some strange times. Remember, we're all on this planet together, whether we like it or not. This is the way we are in this situation. So, be kind to your neighbors. Check in on your parents if you still have them. You're lucky. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask. It has nothing to do with freedom. It just has something to do with keeping my 90-year-old parents alive. So, if you don't, if I might not get sick, but if I bring it to my parents, I love them and I don't want to lose them. And I don't want to lose anybody like that. We just got to remember that it's, that people who have something to gain from it make us fight over this trivial crap. We all are in the same. We got to get rid of our rose-colored glasses and remember that, me and you and everybody who's watching right now, we are all the same. We are brother and sisterhood. If you're a girl geek, you're my sister.
Right.
So we're in it together, and just remember that.
I love it.
I got your back, man.
I love it. Honestly, I can't echo what you're saying enough. It's so true. So please, like as Daniel Pesina is saying, please stay safe, stay healthy. And if you want to check in on Master Pesina, again, quick plug to your Instagram or your anything you want to plug.
Instagram, Master D Pesina, Facebook, Master Pesina, my website, Master Pesina. You're always welcome.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate the time. This has been super fun. Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
all right. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you in November. Thanks, guys.